morning, Muscatine. I hope your Thursday is starting off with as much fun as ours is down here. Downtown is absolutely quiet and gorgeous like always. Feel free to stop down, get some coffee, do something, liven this place up, but wait till after the show so it doesn't like make noise and all that other stuff. I do have one quick announcement for if you're looking for something to do tonight. Muscatine Church of Christ is doing a barbecue rib fundraiser for Victoria, and I cannot pronounce her last name, so I'm not even going to try, but absolutely amazing, amazing woman who has, she's from Liberia. She's working on what's called the Freetown Community Mission. Chris has some pictures here that he's going to throw up, put up on the screen, let's not throw. And they're raising money to help the entire community. It's a school, it's a multi-function building that obviously we all know that education is the path out of poverty. And Victoria has done a great job of leading this charge here in the States to help get this built for her homeland. And so that is tonight at 6:30 at Muscatine Church of Christ, which is the one outside the bypass, kind of kitty corner from the Plaza Theater and Casey's and all that, on the right-hand side. It is a suggested donation, I believe is, let me double check, $10 per adult, $5 per child. You can even do carry out. You could call up to the church or contact them, send them a Facebook message, and they can get it ready for you. You know, Church of Christ is doing a lot of great stuff, and this is just one of their members doing something for her home community. So if you're ready for ribs tonight, and I'm going to tell you this, folks, that church can cook. I mean, I know all churches can cook. Like, that's like a thing, right? I get it. I grew up Baptist. I get it. But I can guarantee you these ribs will be amazing. So if you're not doing anything tonight, stop out there. Tell them I sent you. Tell Lynn and everybody I said hi. Get some ribs and help support an amazing community over in Freetown. So, well, that almost gets us halfway around the globe to where you're from, right?
Yeah.
This morning I have John Dabeet with us here, and if you watch the show at all, he's been on before. You know that John was one of my instructors back at MCC, way back before the turn of the century. It was that long ago, and you know, I always enjoy our conversations because they're always enlightening, because you have such a unique international experience in your life. And the one thing that I've got to tell you, a little bit of humor, see a little bit behind the scenes of how Discover Muscatine works. So as we're building out the paper and Margaret's writing her stories, we always have like placeholder titles for stories, right? You know, United Way prescription card, which we're going to talk about in a little bit with Shane and Hilary. The title for John's in the holding section was John Dabeet wins another award. Like, it's what this guy does. He's like presidential award, Sister Cities award. This guy just like racks them up. It's almost like you're the Michael Jordan of this stuff, right?
Well, I would like to say, first of all, good morning, Muscatine, and good morning, Chris.
He's almost speechless. I don't think I've ever seen him almost speechless.
I try, you know, usually I say I'm extremely humbled by everything I achieve in my life. But I do believe that love plus learning equals success. And this is always the recipe that I myself try to follow and also share with my students, because you know, you need to love what you are doing for sure, and you need to always be open to learn more and more. And if you are that kind of person, success comes easily after that, and that's basically the recipe that I follow.
Well, and you know, I was having a conversation with Wyatt coming back from the ballpark last night, and it was interesting. You know, he was asking, I don't even remember what started it, but you know, the one thing that we were talking about is like, always be willing to learn from people, right? Like, if somebody disagrees with you, agrees with you, it doesn't matter. Learn from them. And you can also tell whether somebody is going to be a good partner for you or a good, you know, and like in business or in anything you're doing, you know, if you say, hey, if there's something I could show you that would change your mind, and they say yes, great. But if they say no, they're turned off. And that's one thing that I've always loved about how having you in class, but also just throughout your, like, you deal with a lot of tough subjects, right? And that ability to listen, I think, is what gets you here, because that, without the listening, you can't build that relationship,
Exactly.
and then you can't educate, teach, love. Like, it all starts with that open listening.
Exactly, yeah, and that's I mean, like, you cannot be in that profession as, you know, education in general without having that open mind. I mean, it's okay to disagree, but it's important to become also to, as you mentioned, to listen and be respectful of
Yes.
others and their ideas.
And that's, it's that respectful disagreement, right?
Yes.
And I think that's something that, like, everybody, and I think Muscatine overall does a pretty good job of this, but just even, I mean, everywhere, just take a half a breath, you know, like, even if you disagree on what you think is the most important subject in the world, it's probably still not gonna outweigh all the things you have in common with the person you're talking with.
Exactly.
And that's just, I don't know, that's some wisdom from my soapbox today. You can take it and do with it whatever you want. So let's talk about this NISOD award. So you headed down to a conference in Texas. You didn't know this was coming, right?
Well, I was told by the leadership of my college, I mean, Dr. Naomi DeWinter, who is my president at MCC, and Dr. Williams, who is the chancellor of our Eastern Iowa Community Colleges district, that they would like me to go to participate in this, what they call International Conference on Teaching and Leadership Excellence. And so I didn't have really a good idea that I will be receiving something, but I'm going obviously to learn and have good experience participating in such a conference. And that was the idea. So went there, and three other members of Eastern Iowa Community Colleges also attended this conference with me too. And we were all surprised that basically we were nominated to receive this prestigious award by the University of Texas in Austin, Texas, by our leadership at Eastern Iowa Community Colleges District, which is obviously an honor to receive such an award.
Yeah, you know, and I think the one thing that sometimes people, I don't know if it's overlook or take for granted, but what a resource the community college system is for this community. You know, it's a great stepping stone. You know, like, I went to MCC, graduated from there before I went on to get my bachelor's and all that. And there's a lot of people in the community that do that. And it's not just traditional students, you know, coming out of high school. There's a lot of non-traditional, and it's just that great next step. And you guys do a great job of integrating all that into one learning environment, right? And you know, what I love is in Margaret's article, which we've got linked in the comment or the post, Naomi says, and I want to quote this because I want to get it right because it's so close to what I said. They connect with his personal story and appreciate that he cares about his students and supports them at events outside of class. You know, you recently received the highest honor from the United States President for your volunteerism. And this care that he shows by volunteering in the community is the same care that he demonstrates in his classroom. And I'm thrilled that he is being honored with for his excellence in teaching. And, you know, I think that is a much better said version of what I said earlier, right? You know, you always speak way better than I do. And so what is it about teaching for you that, because if you haven't seen him in a classroom, folks, you don't, it's almost a different John a little bit. Like, you're always upbeat and gregarious, right? But there's like a little fire in you when you're teaching. Like, I mean, I remember our old micro and macroeconomics classes. I mean, this guy gets excited about, economic waste from import exports, okay? What is it that like drives that for you?
I think first and foremost is passion. I do care for me, seeing my students succeeding is what I think is like the engine that keeps me going. You cannot be in that kind of business, which we call education, unless you are really like that. You need to believe in your students. You need to share your knowledge, the information you have with your students. And in a way, when you see the outcome, the success stories, you hear them from people, from students, and so on, that's when you know that you are doing the right thing. In my classes, obviously, since I teach economics and statistics, traditionally, most people comes to class thinking, oh, well, this is going to be a difficult topic. This is going to be difficult to, for example, succeed in a class like that. And I keep telling them, nothing can be more fun than talking about what we do on a daily basis. And that's what economics is all about. And so connecting what we do on a daily basis to the education of and learning of the subject is becoming very important. And that's where I see students will start enjoying attending the classes, coming to classes, participating, and so on.
And for me, it was, I still to this day used with clients with like some of those simple economic concepts that we talked about. And like, I probably still draw the charts the same way you did on the board, right?
Yeah.
Because they do apply to so much. And I think that's one thing that you're right. It's really easy to get excited because I do get excited. I get excited about economics. The statistics side, not so much. I may have skipped class a little bit in statistics to go to Mallard's hockey games. Maybe. But I still made it through. John it was a thing. But, I think that does show. You've got the passion for the kids and the people, because it's not all kids, right?
Exactly.
You're extremely approachable, which, especially for I never had to go through this, of course, but I would imagine as a returning student, non-traditional, that approachability is huge because it's, not your normal environment. You haven't been in an educational environment. And again, a lot of the instructors at MCC and throughout the community college district do a great job of that. And I think you model that very well because I can't think of anybody that's ever said you know what, I was scared to talk to him,
And it's important to let students know that you are always available for them, available in a sense that you are there to help them succeed. And that's why, it's not, for example, strange for me to share my cell phone number with my students. I usually share that on my syllabus. So all my students get my cell phone because this is another way for them to reach out to me. And especially the traditional students, it's easier for them to send a text message than, for example, sending an email or making a phone call and something like that. And that's part of the reason why we keep that connection with the students. We need to go to them rather than thinking that they have to come to us. And in education, things in the educational field are changing rapidly. And I learned a lot from that conference that I attended. For example, one of the facts and the issues that I learned by attending this conference is that now the statistics are showing that 85% of the jobs in 2030, which is 7 years from now, are not invented yet. So we are talking about things that we don't know really how things are moving, and we need to adapt to that.
And that's very, very true because you don't always know what tools you need except for a couple. You know you need to be able to solve problems.
Yes.
You know you need to have some grit to be able to, get through those problems and know how to research things, know how to learn. Like, if you know how to learn, if you know how to solve problems and you have some grit, you're going to be fine.
Exactly.
And I think that's one thing that, if you can on one hand keep it that simple while teaching other tools to go in the tool belt, if you just focus on those three things, I always talk about, every time I see him, I think back to this exercise we did in class where we were folding airplanes. And it was the number of airplanes, it was 2 teams. We had a stack of paper, 4 or 5 people on each team. You had to create an assembly line, get as many airplanes down the runway, so to speak, as you could, and it had to hit an area. And it's just problem solving. There were problems, you just get through it. And it's great to see the things that we are doing here at the community college level tie into what's really going to be needed over the next 5-10 years.
Definitely, because those skills are well needed. I mean, I'm not quite sure if you can work anywhere, for example, without knowing how to work with others. For example, teamwork is extremely, very important skill that we need to teach. And as you just mentioned with that exercise in the classroom, I mean, that teamwork is very important aspect of that exercise, because we know when people work together, sometimes they might disagree, but the most important thing is how can we all think that the team becomes what's important and not me as one individual in that team, and we all should work for the team and make sure that that team wins.
And there's a way to do that without losing your own identity inside of the team. And I think that's, we do this with some clients organizationally, like, the organization's going one direction and, you got to get everybody on board. You don't have to agree on every little thing, but you have to agree on the overall direction, right?
Exactly.
And then you work through those and, maybe you get your way one time, maybe the other, whatever, you'll figure that out. But if you can lay that groundwork and, the things that you guys do at MCC across all the programs, do a great job of that. So congratulations, of course.
Thank you. And as I always say, MCC and Eastern Iowa Community Colleges definitely is a great place to work for. We are very proud definitely to be part of that great institution. Hence, we call ourselves the community college.
You absolutely are. Well, again, thank you. Thank you for stopping in. It was a pleasure talking with you as always. And I assumed we just need to book you in for 4, 5, 6 weeks from now for your next award, or?
Thank God for everything. Thank God, and always look forward to come and talk with you, Chris, and be on your show. Thank you.
It's a blast.
I appreciate that.
So we will be right back with Shane and Hilary from the United Way, talking about it's not a new program, but a pretty significantly revamped, freshened up community prescription card program that you're not going to want to miss. So we'll see in just a moment.
Have you heard the littlest things can make the biggest difference? Every day, bigs and littles are connecting in our community. Their time together can look a little different, but the goals and outcomes are the same. Littles are building confidence, forming better relationships, a sense of belonging, and achieving big goals. But there are more kids just like me who are still waiting. Will you join us in making more matches possible? Support Big Brothers, Big Sisters.
We are looking for a zero-turn lawnmower.
At Hustler Turf, quality matters.
Can I test drive that one?
In the store?
Even in the buying experience. We know you want to buy from someone who knows what they're talking about.
We're looking for a zero-turn mower.
Like this guy.
First thing you need to know is what's the size of your property? Are there any obstacles?
Head to your local Hustler dealer and talk to a lawnmower expert.
Stop in to Muscatine Lawn and Power at 2020 Stewart Road to see Hustler quality for yourself.
We just don't work out in a single plane of motion.
rehab physical therapy. Feel better, move forward.
It's time for an update from the Not So Late Show with Austin, brought to you by Unity Point Health.
Listen up, everyone. I've got some news. Things are still kind of crazy out there, and the pandemic is still going on. And it's hard to keep people healthy. And right now, things are really tough for healthcare workers. There are a lot of people needing help with their health. They're working very hard.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm here with Shane and Hilary from United Way. And first, for those that don't know you guys, if you could just take a quick second, introduce yourselves and like what your role at United Way is and like what you get to touch.
My name is Hilary Hankey, and I'm the Community Engagement Manager with United Way of Muscatine. So I help organize volunteers, run our volunteer center, and am in charge of resource development.
She's also in charge of birthday cakes.
Yeah. Birthday cakes and resource development, yes.
And I'm Shane Orm, the Executive Director for United Way of Muscatine, which means I sit in my office. Well, I have a great staff that do a lot of the work. I do stuff, obviously, but
you do a lot.
Keep things going. But the staff are the ones that are the important pieces.
He leads, folks. He does a very good job of it, right? I'm gonna give you an elevator speech for what you do, okay? So that you can answer that question. You do a great job of helping provide the overall vision for the community and understanding where we're at, where we need to go, and what action steps we need to take to get there. That's what you do, or at least from the outside looking in. That's what it looks like.
With the help of a great board of directors.
Absolutely, right, of course. Yes.
As you can tell, I like to give other people the...
He's great at deflecting. I actually had this conversation with another leader in town literally yesterday. Yes, it's okay to take a little bit of credit because you are good at what you do. So anyway, that's our little side bit there. So the main thing that we're here to talk about, there's a whole bunch of cool stuff, but like the one thing that we really want to make sure we take a little bit of time on here is it's not really a new program, but we're going to call it a new program for kicks and giggles.
Yeah.
Is the community prescription drug card function. So could you kind of tell us a little bit about it? Chris, could you pull up the image of the card so people can kind of see what we're talking about and kind of understand how it might work for them?
You want me to do it, or you can go for it?
Or actually, I guess it doesn't matter to me.
We have SingleCare prescription discount drugs, we have SingleCare cards that will help people get prescription drugs at a discount up to 80% off. In Muscatine County, you can utilize those cards at Hy-Vee, Walgreens, and Walmart. They have a website where you can go and see which pharmacy has it the cheapest for you. Anybody can utilize this. So whether you have insurance or you don't have insurance, we found that it tends to be more helpful for people who don't have insurance because it gives you a much steeper discount than retail. But there are times that perhaps it'll be a little bit cheaper than your insurance. So we have those at our office. They don't expire, so you can use them anytime. It's not a one-time use thing or anything like that, so you can just put it in your wallet. When you have a prescription to fill for you or your children, you can go in and utilize that card or go online and see, hey, can I get this cheaper than my insurance or not? And so those are for free at our office. We're located at 615 Cedar Street, Suite 200. So it's the Community Bank and Trust Building, push floor 2, and we're on the second floor there.
I love how she gives directions. She uses landmarks for people. I love that. Thank you. It's always nice to know what you're walking into.
Well, sometimes, people say United Way and we give them the address, and we do have signage out there, but when you see the big bank, I think that can kind of throw people off and they might think they're in the wrong spot. But yeah.
Functionally, for a lot of folks, if you don't have insurance, it'll actually kind of work like insurance.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is you can take the card to your pharmacy, you give it to them, and they actually, because it's got like a BIN, a group, and a PCN and all this stuff, so they can actually put it in their system like insurance, right? Yeah. So then they can kind of check it every time you come in. So it's not even like you have to like whip out your card every time, be like, yo, can I get a deal on this, right? It's kind of like a nice, easy thing. And if you have insurance, you can say, hey, can you check both and see which one's better? So that's the great thing about, because there's some of these coupon programs, like every time you go in, you have to like pull in a new coupon, and like it's just a hot mess. So that's a great thing. So is there a limit to how many cards you have that you can give out in the community?
We have like a couple thousand cards. So,
so let's say functionally no.
We have quite a few.
There's technically a limit, but it's pretty high. So
yeah. So
I'm
I
sure
guess
we could probably
if
get
there's
some more if we needed some, right?
Yeah, and if there's, I'd say if there are organizations who work with clients and that kind of thing, I've had organizations just pick up a handful of cards to be able to give to their clients, and that's fine too, or we welcome that.
especially if people are doing in-home visits and
Right,
it's
yeah.
easier to bring it straight to the client. We want to eliminate barriers for people to get access to this. We do have it in English and in Spanish too, so that's
awesome.
helpful to know.
Yep.
Awesome.
Oh, and one other thing that it does do is it also tracks the use, not who's using. We don't get to see who's using it, but we get to see the grand total of savings for, let's say, Muscatine County.
Gotcha.
So that we can kind of track that too.
Oh, that's awesome. And
Yeah.
that's, again, a little side note, a little window into the United Way. One thing that they also do very well is track their results and have like an idea of what sort of impact you're making. And this is another one of those things where like, there's going to be a huge number after this program really gets fired back, you know, like it's going to be a huge number of savings. And in some ways it's somewhat, nebulous, like it's sometimes hard to wrap your mind around, but yet you can still look there and go, okay, like we legitimately save people in this town a bunch of money, and that's got to be a good thing, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I can't think of it. Is there any way that could be a bad thing, saving money? I can't.
Well, it's probably a good transition into the new Alice report too,
Yeah.
because
Look
when
at
you're
that.
looking
you just like she could just like do this. Like we're just gonna segue it in before you did again the things you don't see during the commercial break. Shane and I were talking about the new Alice data, and I haven't had a chance to see it yet. And I'm like, so what do I? And she's like, you're fine. It changed a little bit. Oh, perfect, great. So segue as I interrupt the smooth segue that you created. Alice data. Alice is, well, actually, I'll let you explain it because I'll wander as I explain it.
Yeah, so ALICE stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, Employed. And even though ALICE is a name, it just helps to put a face on people who are working, but still not able to meet their needs each month. So I know there's a lot of focus on people in poverty who are struggling, which of course people in poverty are struggling. But this is an additional segment of people who we don't necessarily think of as people who are struggling because they're friends, they're neighbors, we see them on a daily basis, working in the community, but every month they're making tough decisions on what they're going to do.
And it's, you know, we talk about this with food often, you know, and like food insecurity, right?
Yep.
You don't always see it. It's not, human beings, and especially like in our culture, are really good at masking their problems, right? So the chances of you just seeing and observing somebody that's having a challenge, it's probably not gonna, I mean, it happens, of course, but I mean, it's not like it's a, you know, somebody's out there waving a flag saying, I need help, right?
Right.
And oftentimes they may have to make a decision between like, do I buy this life-saving medication, enter SingleCare card that maybe will give you a discount so you have extra money to put somewhere else. So it's a Band-Aid. It's not a solution to the problem, but every little thing that we can do helps make a difference.
Yeah. And being able to understand, well, I guess, what does understanding that population let us do as a community to help support them? Like, what do you see that lets target, because we always talk about targeting our efforts really tightly to solve problems.
Well, one of it is just awareness because, as I said, a lot of people don't realize that there's even a problem there, or they think, oh, it's just people that under the poverty level that are an issue. People that aren't working, you know, they're getting assistance. So,
and then that makes it all okay. They're fine. Once they get assistance, they're fine.
So I think, you know, in Muscatine County, it's 38% of households are under the ALICE threshold. So.
And what is the ALICE threshold?
It's just around 62,000.
Yeah. $62,728 per year.
For a family of four.
Seriously, let's just point the camera at her and let her go.
For a family of four. Like, she's got the data.
I just took notes, that's all.
So
that's for a family of four.
Yeah, and that's, you know, for a family of four, you know, on one hand, obviously we all know inflation has gone crazy in the last couple of years, but, you know, there was a point in my memory where 62,000 for household income was strong, you know, like, I mean, you were going to be fine, put a couple kids through school, whatever. But it's A, not that anymore, and B, you know, I would imagine I'd have to do some quick math, but 62, that's 2 decent household jobs. You know what I mean? That's not like people sitting at home, you know, like sometimes people imagine, you know, eating bonbons and living off of the government. Like it's definitely not that. It's you could easily have 2 full-time working people with even some overtime in there and still be hitting underneath the ALICE threshold.
So the equivalent is $31.37 an hour. So you could have 2 people making $15 an hour and still not able to meet their basic needs every single month. So they're working full time, they're doing everything they can, and they're still not there.
Yeah, and it can even be, that doesn't even necessarily mean like they're making what some might call bad decisions. You know what I mean? Like that's just life, right? Like that's, you could still be making what would be considered all the right decisions, right? And still be not quite there. And that's, you know, one of those things where like a little bit of help, a little bit of ease, it's not about like then taking over and providing everything. It's just about taking that edge off, right? Like what can we do to make it a little easier? Take some of those decisions and they aren't as stressful, right? And especially with stuff like this, I mean, the card is a negotiated price function, right? So it's not like this is coming out of United Way's pocket, right? You guys were just able to find a program that kind of like leverages everybody to help save people in Muscatine money. So
I think we need to make a real impact. We have to look at it big picture, right? So that's why United Way focuses on education, affordable housing, education and training and affordable housing, so that if we can get people into training or education and increase, you know, the amount of money that they can make in their jobs and be able to provide affordable housing for them, then that helps, right? That helps the community get to a point where people can afford their basic needs and they're not struggling to make those hard decisions every month. Because I don't know about you, but it'd be really hard to decide, do I purchase my child the medication they need or the food they need, right? That's a hard choice to make.
Yeah, and you know, the reality is it happens every day, right? Like the sleep bed folks.
Sleep in heavenly peace.
Sleep in heavenly peace. I couldn't remember all that. Like, yeah, you know, that's again something you don't think about, like for kids in beds, right? Like, and that would be one of those maybe not life-changing critical decisions, right? But like, do you get your kid a bed or do you get them food? Well, the answer is obvious. You get them the food, right? But we all know that sleep is super important for kids, right? So again, another way, which I think they've got a build date coming up here in a couple weeks.
I think so.
So check the community calendar. I know it's on there. So go build a bed. Help. Go build a bed. So is there anything else in the ALICE data that like we should all know?
Well, there's a lot of data there. You can go
out
to...
but we don't need to know all of it. What's the stuff that's important for us to know?
If you go out to unitedforalice.org and you can drill down to Muscatine County specific data, but there's a large discrepancy when it comes to different demographics of households, for example, so it's not evenly distributed. A single female parent, 75% of those households are under the ALICE threshold, for example. So it's not evenly distributed.
Right.
That being said, there are people in every demographic category that are in that ALICE population. So,
and it's not just the single young females either. I think the other thing is 50% of people over 65 in Muscatine County
that's
are
exactly
ALICE.
what I was going to ask.
So, you know, you're thinking about these grandparents, these people who've recently retired, they're struggling too. So it's not just the young families, it's across the board, really.
Yeah.
So if somebody's sitting out there going, okay, this seems like a big problem, and admittedly it is, right? What are some things that they can do, like with you guys, to help kind of step in and help? Like, what volunteer opportunities do you have, or like what's something that somebody could be like, I'm going to get off the couch today and go do something? What can they do?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, like through us and through senior resources, there's always opportunities to help senior citizens to do yard work or work around their house. Rebuilding Together builds ramps for people all the time who can't afford to do so, and does other kind of household repair, things like that. So there's a lot of volunteer opportunities where you can get out and help people. With kids, like Big Brothers Big Sisters, they're going to start doing 45 Bigs in 45 days, being involved in those children's lives and giving them opportunities that they wouldn't otherwise have. sometimes experiences are just as important as education. So getting out there and being able to do things with them. There's a lot of volunteer work that you can do, reading mentors and reading buddies, reading to kids in the classroom. I think I talked about that on here before. So they saw at Madison Elementary School a 33% increase in the FAST scores in kindergarten from fall to winter compared to 5% the year before. So that makes a difference. Those things make a difference. In terms of being able to help long term, if you donate to United Way, we have a group of volunteers, and I know you were in on that determine where to allocate those funds so that we can make the biggest impact in education, training, housing, and of course basic needs. So I think if you want to make a big impact, you can always call me, and I'm happy to sit down with you and find out what your area of passion is and how we might be able to work together too.
Okay, so that's for the person sitting at home going, I want to make a difference and I want to get off the couch. Okay, what about the person that just wants to get off the couch and have some fun? Do you have anything coming up that might be like a good opportunity to just like, I don't know, hang out by the river and like, I don't know, have some fun?
Funny you should ask. We do.
Oh, you do? Sweet. It wasn't planned at all, folks.
RAGBRAI is coming to town on Saturday, July 29th, and we are looking for volunteers for that. So if you are interested in volunteering for RAGBRAI, we have tons of opportunities. You can slice watermelon, you can take photos of riders at the dip site, we have an info tent, golf cart drivers, you name it, we've probably got a volunteer opportunity for it. So if you're interested in that, go to the Chamber's website and there's a RAGBRAI link there. We also have the volunteer link on our Facebook page and on United Way's website under volunteer opportunities. Or if you can't find it anywhere, you can always just call me. It's 563-279-4237 and I'll get you to where you need to go.
Yep, easy, right? So if you want to volunteer and do something fun, we got that. If you want to make a difference, we can do that. There's probably, I'm going to bet, some that are fun and difference making.
Yes.
But we won't have to dive down into that at the moment. The prescription card is obviously huge. Call down to you guys, stop in, and then just get it to your pharmacy. I mean, your pharmacy will know what to do with it. Like, you don't have to like overthink this. Like, literally, you get the card, put it in your wallet or purse, get it out there, hand it to them, and like you're done. Like, you've got it. So, holy cow, that was a lot of good stuff always.
Yeah.
Is there anything else big that you guys can think of?
We do. We have a t-shirt design
contest
for
how did I forget that?
That's okay.
Yeah.
So if you've got a child, kindergarten through 12th grade, and they like to draw, we're doing a Day of Caring t-shirt design contest. Entries need to be submitted to me at Hilary, Hilary, at unitedwaymuscatine.org or dropped off at our office at 615 Cedar Street, Suite 200 by July 1st. And then our committee will look at all the great designs and we'll determine a winner. The winner's design will be on all of the Day of Caring shirts from in fall 23, spring 24, and summer 24. And the winner will get a $50 gift card.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Nice.
And you see those shirts all the time.
Oh yeah.
I mean, a couple years from now, I'll see shirts. People wearing the Day of Caring shirts.
Yeah, it's because they're nice shirts.
Yeah, they are. And speaking of Day of Caring, Intern Day of Caring's next Wednesday. So that's exciting.
There's always a Day of Caring coming up. Like, that's what I love about it. Like, if you need something to talk about, just talk about Day of Caring, because there's literally always one within about 10 weeks or so.
Yeah,
right?
Pretty much, except in winter. We don't really.
Well, that's true. That's true.
But there's always volunteer opportunities.
I was just saying, maybe we make a. No, I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
Yeah.
I was thinking shoveling, and I'm like, no, this is going to be a hot mess. Chris, just keep your mouth shut. Just keep your mouth shut.
Senior Resources does have shoveling.
Yes, they do.
So
they've
got that.
Yeah. So, well, and that's the other thing I thought about. I'm like, well, we don't need it. We got that.
But yeah, so we've got 71 interns going out to complete at least 11 different projects. I have a couple extras, and those interns always knock them out so fast. We're lucky that we have a few extras to do. So thanks to Kent, Bayer, HNI, MPW, and Stanley Consultants for loaning out your interns for the day so they can do some great work in the community.
Awesome. So basically it all boils down to, if you have something you want to do, you want to help, just call United Way. Or Facebook message them, email them, whatever your preference is. But anything else big? Any other
That's it.
Crazy stuff?
I promise I'm done now.
No, that's I always want to make sure we don't miss something. But holy cow! Well, thanks for stopping in, both of you. Thanks for what you do in the community, of course. And go hit the Chamber website, and there's for the RAGBRAI information. go get your prescription card. That's your project for the weekend, Muscatine. Get a volunteer slot taken and get your prescription card. So we will see you. There's no sports tonight. Everybody's on the road. So we will see you on Monday.